Hey girl, in this video I'm sharing everything you need to know in order to start your natural hair journey. This video is perfect for someone that is currently relaxed, of course, and considering what do they need to know before they jump in, right? This video is also perfect for some of my OGs, so you might have been natural for a while, however you just quite haven't put the pieces together and you're still up and about and trying a few things and wondering what works and confused about all sorts of things. Look, this video will be beneficial to you because I am pretty much putting everything that I've learned and everything that I think you need to know prior to going natural. All right, first things first, the assumption here is that you are currently relaxed or you're someone that is already natural but still not quite confident with everything that you're doing. So if you're relaxed, I just want to say that the first thing you need to do is to go natural, right? And there's only two ways to go natural once you've had a relaxer in your hair. The first one is to big chop, so just shave all your hair off and allow the new growth, the new hair, the virgin hair, the natural hair to grow out of your hair. The second way is to transition. So transitioning just means that you allow your natural hair to grow while you still keep your relaxed hair. Now, it can be a bit challenging to manage the two textures, caring for relaxed hair and also natural hair. However, a lot of people manage just by maybe keeping the hair in plaits or cornrows and wearing wigs, or just doing twist outs, so curly styles. That way it's not that obvious that you're actually, rocking two textures, okay? But in my opinion, I think that the big chop is probably the easiest way to go natural. All right, so I understand YouTube is a very confusing place. When I first started looking after my natural hair, things were a little bit more simpler. You could come out here and search for one thing and everybody was pretty much saying the same thing. However, fast forward 10, 15 years later, everyone has an opinion, including myself. People have learned things, experiences on their journey, and they come out here and share those things. So I'm making this video just to make it easier for you to, I guess, start your journey and navigate your way around YouTube and try and manage the maze or solve the maze, if you know, because honestly, even I, as a natural that's been around here for a while, I do find YouTube a bit confusing and conflicting and just contradicting, and one morning this person saying this and the following morning the other thing, I included, and that's because it's actually real people learning new things every day, sharing real experiences, so opinions do change. So I hope that this video just makes it easy for you to navigate the maze, okay? Now, before I get into the actual care of the hair, let me just straight away start by saying that with YouTube, when you're searching for stuff on YouTube, looking for information on YouTube, it's important before you even start looking for anything care related to sort of decide what type of a natural you want to be, okay? There is so many types of naturals you can be. There is the curly naturals, people that wear their hair curly. There's people that like to do DIY. So if you want to go the DIY route where you just want to use, non-store-bought products. There are people that are wash and go sort of focused and they love to wear their hair in that kind of style. There is the protective stylists, there is the length retention people, and then you also have people that wear their hair in specific styles for the majority of the time. For example, myself, I wear my hair in twists for the majority of my time. So the first step to just help you not get confused out here is to figure out how you want to wear your hair and what you're comfortable with when it comes to wearing your hair and your lifestyle as well. And I speak about lifestyle because you don't want your natural hair to be an inconvenience. You want your natural hair to actually fit into your life, not the other way around, okay? That's why I think that it's important to decide what kind of natural you want to be. Once you decide what kind of natural you want to be, then look for YouTubers that align with that, I guess, choice or style or principle. I don't know how to put it, but find YouTubers that are filming and sharing information, or that have shared information that aligns with what your needs are. For example, if you're looking to not use oils and butters, for example, there's a lot of people that talk about looking after their hair without the use of oils and butters. If you want to really just look after your hair with mini twists, there's a lot of people that talk about mini twists, including myself. There is people that talk about DIYs, and that's their, that's their thing. So decide who or what type of YouTuber does that kind of thing and follow a few. And that way you can study this type of natural, you can really get into it, learn all the basics, get excited, find your community, start commenting and, interacting with fellow naturals that have the same kind of goals and, general view and desire when it comes to how they want to look after their hair. This is literally what will help you just shut out all the confusion, all the noise, and narrow down to exactly what you need here on YouTube. Because if you pick and choose here, there, and there, you are gonna get confused. There is people that wear their hair straight, so there's straight naturals as well, and if you feel this is something that you want to do, then go for it. However, I just wanted to put it out here to say that at this current time in the natural hair community, it's important to actually decide what kind of natural you want to be, and then start researching and learning based on that. Before you decide that, it might be worth watching a few videos just to see how the lifestyle is for a particular way of wearing your hair or caring for your hair, and then narrowing it down, okay? But don't get too deep into these different areas before you decide. You're gonna get confused. Another thing to consider is how much you want to wash your hair. Some people wash a few times a week, once a month, whatever. You decide what works for you, and then start to really narrow down. So I'll actually write down and say what you need, okay? What kind of styles you like to wear, how often you can wash your hair, you want to be washing your hair, what sort of I guess how you want to care for your hair, present to the world with your hair, what sort of protective styles you might want to wear, what sort of products. Are you more DIY or you're quite flexible? Do you want to use heat or no heat, and once you narrow down a little bit as to what you want to, how you want to present or how you want to look after your hair, then you can go ahead to enjoy. Okay, there's so much information out here on YouTube on how to look after your hair. The next thing I just want to talk about is also your hair. Learn your hair. Find out what your hair is, okay? Is it kinky? Is it curly? Is it coily? What are the characteristics? Is it fine? Is it thick? Is it medium? Is it coarse? Is it prone to damage or breakage? Is it high porosity? Is it low porosity? I personally believe that most of us kinky, textured women, so type 4 naturals, are actually high porosity. However, you could have a varying point of view, I guess, depending on how you feel, and that's based on my research in the recent past. However, there's so many other channels that focus on care for low porosity, care for high porosity, and in betweens. Just have a look and start studying your hair. Find out its characteristics. Is it dry? Find out the curl type. Is it very tightly coiled? Find out, does it like to be stretched? Does it like to be curly? What kind of styles do you look best in, etc.? And that will help you really start to learn and accept your hair for what it truly is. The next thing that I think you should do is read. And this is something that a lot of us don't do. But when I first went natural, one of the books that I read was The Science of Black Hair. That really opened my eyes to natural hair, what it is, the basics of it, how to look after it, protective styling, scalp, you name it, moisture, protein, you name it. There's a lot of blogs, there's a lot of ebooks. I'm gonna come out with a digital product to help you start to, understand your hair and the care of it a little bit better. So look out for things like that, because then it's someone that's put a lot of effort and a lot of research, a lot of time into collecting that information for you and packaging it in such a way that you can digest it easily, access it easily, and really concentrate on your hair and your journey. Okay, all right, so now let's get into the actual care of your hair. I've briefly spoken about porosity, but porosity is pretty much a term that's used to describe how quickly your hair absorbs moisture and how quickly that moisture escapes the hair. Porosity is important to know so that you have an understanding of the care of your hair. Some people don't believe this, but I truly believe that your porosity does impact the products, the techniques, and the ways that you look after your hair. Like I said already, I believe kinky type 4 naturals are mainly high porosity, and with this type of porosity just means that your hair loses water very quickly. It also gets water or moisture very quickly, okay? With high porosity, the cuticle is a little bit open, which means that that moisture can escape a little bit easy. So yeah, dryness is a major characteristic of high porosity hair. If you've got low porosity hair, then your cuticle is naturally just lying flat, which means that it actually absorbs water with a little bit of heat. You know, it does absorb water. However, if the product is maybe too thick, or the product is, I don't know, you haven't added heat after adding the product, it might take a bit of time or might not actually penetrate the hair because the cuticle is lying down flat. So with low porosity, you know, lighter products might work better. You know, liquid products might work better. Using heat to moisturize, deep condition, get the products in might work better. And then with high porosity, you want to use a lot of heavy products to seal in moisture very well. You want to smooth the cuticle very well. I talk about using apple cider vinegar, for example, to spritz on your hair, lowering the pH and therefore closing that cuticle, which allows you to retain a little bit more moisture when you are high porosity. So find out what your porosity is. Once you do, be done with the topic. It's not that serious with regards to, you know, controlling every single thing that you do with your natural hair. However, when you're first getting started, it's important to have that under your belt. Cleansing. Decide how often you want to cleanse. When you cleanse your hair as a natural, you want to focus on the scalp, right? Focus on the scalp. Yes, you can wash your hair as well, the length of the hair. Some people don't like to do that. I personally don't like to wash the full length of my hair. Sometimes I'll do it just depending on how my hair is feeling and how long it's been since my wash, etc. However, try a few ways of washing your hair and see which one works best for you. The aim with cleansing your hair is to use moisturizing shampoo. So shampoos that do not strip the hair too much of its natural oil called sebum. That way you can kind of keep some level of moisture and hydration in the hair. When cleansing your hair, it's also important, particularly if you've got very tightly coiled hair, to wash your hair in sections. It's a game changer. If you try to wash your hair as a whole, this is usually a remedy for disaster. It tangles up. Single strand knots just mean that one piece of hair coils around itself and makes a knot. It causes tangles. It's just a nightmare. I've tried it before. I'm never going to do it again. And I also encourage people to use quite warm water when you wash your hair because it actually also aids in the removal of products, okay? So those are some things to remember when it comes to cleansing or washing your hair. Of course, like I said earlier, once you decide how often you want to be washing your hair, you know, then you can sort of start looking for naturals that do what you're looking for. I've done separate videos going in depth to help you decide how often to wash your hair. However, the main thing to remember here is your lifestyle, your preference, what your scalp is doing, how regulated your scalp is, and also sebum, how quickly you produce sebum on your scalp. You can discover your sebum level by simply washing your hair and doing a little scratch test every couple of days to see if you get a little bit of sebum in your nail. If you get sebum within a week or so, you're pretty much someone that produces really high sebum, and then that means that you might need to actually wash your hair a bit more often. If by week 3, for example, you don't see any sebum in your nails, so that's week 3 post-wash, then you're probably someone that produces very low sebum, okay? And that means that you might be able to go a little bit longer with your washes. Another thing to consider is how often you exercise. If you exercise a lot, then you might need to wash a bit more often and vice versa, okay? So just consider your lifestyle and what works with you when it comes to cleansing and washing the hair. Treatments. There's only 2 main treatments that you should be focusing as a new natural, and that is moisturizing treatments and then protein. So because natural hair is naturally dry, okay, because of the texture of it, the makeup of it, and most of us are high porosity, moisture just tends to escape, okay? The other reason that our hair is naturally dry is because the sebum at the scalp doesn't travel easily down the hair shaft, okay, because of the coil and the curl in the hair. That makes it extremely difficult to keep the hair hydrated, moisturized, and soft all the way to the ends. That's why You see a lot of naturals adding oils, butters, water, leave-in conditioners to mimic sebum. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that moisture is probably one of the biggest things you have to learn or master early on in your natural hair routine. I share a lot of videos on this channel about moisture, how to moisturize your hair. However, when it comes to moisturizing the hair, the main thing is to do it before your hair dries out. A lot of people say, oh, I wait, once my hair is dry, I moisturize it. However, I encourage people to actually learn or get into the habit of moisturizing their hair before it gets dry. And that way your hair doesn't get dry ever. And because your hair is always moisturized, you incur less breakage, less tangles, less single strand knots, and more manageable hair in general. So with treatments, every time you wash your hair, you have to deep condition your hair. And that means adding a deep conditioner to your hair. It's a product, you buy it, you put it in your hair. Some of them require you to sit under heat or just allow it to sit in the hair for a certain period of time and then rinse it out. I encourage people to never ever wash their hair without deep conditioning. These two go hand in hand. Okay, so deep conditioning is crucial to your natural hair routine. It adds moisture, it conditions the hair, softens the hair, nourishes the hair, you name it. The next thing is protein. So with proteins just help to strengthen the hair, right? They go fill up the gaps that may be in your hair due to damage, wear and tear, heat, etc. As a new natural, you might not actually have too much damage depending on how you transition or how you went natural. However, if you're someone that actually has been transitioning for a while and maybe you have a year's worth of hair or more, then you might actually have some kind of wear and tear in your hair and may benefit a little bit more from protein. And to you, I would say, try a few proteins. I have done separate videos talking about really getting into details about protein. However, try a few proteins, see which one works for you and start to include it in your routine. I recommend doing somewhere between 6 weeks to 2 monthly for new naturals. And as your hair gets longer and older, etc., you might need to do it a little bit more often. But that's just a rule of thumb to get you started. Now, I've spoken about moisturizing the hair. Depending on how effective your moisturizing routine is, you can get away with moisturizing your hair from every couple of days to up to once every 2 weeks, just depending on what your routine is, your products, etc. But when it comes to moisturizing, it's pretty much adding moisture in the form of water. I encourage humectant water, so it's just distilled water with glycerin added in there. Spritz it onto your hair, add a leave-in conditioner and add a sealant. So something like castor oil, shea butter, some people use grease as well. Moisturizing your hair just adds moisture, obviously, and then seals that moisture in with an oil-based product, okay, or a sealant. If you're moisturizing your hair more than a couple of times a week, there's something missing there in the routine. Your hair is drying out a little bit too quickly, in my opinion, or maybe it's winter and it's very, very cold, so you might need to do that. Another idea is to moisture train your hair. I've done a separate video talking about how to moisture train your hair, and that way you can sort of catapult yourself into the world of having really moisturized hair all the time. Hydration. This is something that's not spoken about a lot in the natural hair streets, but hydration is very important. There's only 2 ways to hydrate your hair. One is through heat, one is through pH. So the best time to actually hydrate your hair is on wash day, as you can imagine. You've got your shampoo there, which has a higher pH, and it actually opens the cuticle and allows moisture, water to go into the hair. When it comes to using heat to hydrate your hair, on your moisturizing day, when you're moisturizing your hair, just add heat to your hair. So like a deep conditioning cup or something like that, or a hooded dryer attachment, and then introduce heat to then open the cuticle and allow hydration to go in. These are the 2 ways that allow you to keep your hair hydrated. Now, I always say to people around day 7 or day 10 post-wash day, your hair is pretty much getting dry and depleted of the moisture that you added at wash day. So it's a good time to either re-moisturize with heat or wash it again, okay? So those are things to consider when it comes to hydration. Detangling. You hear a lot of information here about detangling your hair. There's a lot of tools, combs, brushes. I don't encourage people to use tools and brushes, particularly if you are a type 4 natural. I encourage for people to use their fingers, dry detangle their hair first, and then go in with wet detangling if required. However, I encourage people to dry detangle because your hair is actually strongest when it's dry, and when it's wet it's a little bit weaker. Okay, and there's a few challenges there. I've done separate videos discussing this. Have a look around and get more information from there. However, detangling is where you retain your length. If length is a goal of yours, then you really need to figure this out. Okay, you want to do detangling very gently. You want to do it, I say do it rarely, because each time you detangle is an opportunity to break your hair. Some people will say do it often, that way you don't have too much shed hair and not too many tangles, and your hair can easily be detangled, and that way, you know, you're able to manage it better. Again, find your naturals, find your YouTubers that align with what works for you, and decide which system or which method works better for you. If you're gonna use combs, just find really high quality combs. I recommend Cosmology. It's probably one of the most gentle combs. However, like I said, your fingers are your best friends, and if you think about it, a knot really cannot be untangled by a comb. A knot is too complex to be untangled by a comb. So really, when we are combing and brushing our hair, what we're doing is actually breaking our hair. So if you can, challenge yourself to learn how to finger detangle your hair. With detangling, you want to do detangling very gently. If you're detangling with wet hair, you want to make sure there's a lot of slip. You want to make sure you're very patient. You want to make sure you do it in sections, and you want to start at the ends for wet detangling, okay? And work your way up. Pulling gently on the hair also allows you to remove shed hairs. These are techniques that you can implement to have an effective detangle. Another thing to consider before you start watching videos and getting into the rabbit hole here on YouTube is what your goal is as a natural. Do you want long hair? Do you want short hair? Do you want to dye your hair? Do you want to show off your hair? Do you like afros? What are your goals for your hair? Do you want really moisturized hair? Do you want less breakage? So once you decide what your goal is, it's easier to find your people, your team, like-minded people to discuss with, share knowledge and ideas with, etc. Some channels like this one are length retention focused. Of course, it works hand in hand with healthy hair. However, some channels don't really focus on length. They prefer to wear their hair out and actually, show off their hair, like actually present themselves to the world more with their natural hair showing, or in a wash and go, for example, or as a straight natural or dyed hair, etc. And then you do also get YouTubers that are freestylers, right? They really don't care, they're just enjoying their hair, and yeah, they're out there. So find out what your goals are and find your people that align with those goals. Hair growth. You hear a lot of talk about hair growth. Use this oil, it'll grow your hair overnight. And I say run away from videos that sound too good to be true, because they usually are, okay? Hair actually takes time to grow, and it's important to be patient with your hair to allow it to grow. Most people on average grow about ½ an inch per month, so it's about 6 inches of hair per year, which is actually not a lot when you consider the wear and tear, the breakage that happens with the care of the hair. So be patient with your hair if length retention is a goal of yours, and don't be deceived into buying a whole lot of products, just to get overnight hair or, hair growth. And yeah, just focus on your techniques, your routine, your methods, etc. Retaining length is another thing that you hear a lot about here on YouTube. And a lot of us love long hair. I love long hair. I have long hair. I'm trying to grow it longer. So I don't blame you if you want long hair. It's beautiful, right? However, length retention is very much about the techniques and the care of the hair. Of course, if your hair is weak, breaking, if your ends are not well looked after, if your detangling techniques are not very good, then you won't see your length retention. So length retention has a lot to do with avoiding breakage. How do you avoid breakage? Low manipulation styles. So doing very little manipulation and not changing your style too often, or handling your hair too often. Protective styling, putting your hair away. That way, you don't have to deal with it. You don't have to comb it as often. However, just know that length retention is very much about avoiding breakage and retaining, you know, as much length as you can. Most people actually grow hair at the scalp. You don't need to do much at the scalp. The main thing is to retain this older hair at the ends. Okay, now speaking of length retention, you hear a lot about protective styling. I recommend that you protective style your hair with your own hair. Okay, adding synthetic to your hair can pose a bit of a challenge, and unless you know what you're doing and you know exactly how it's gonna go step by step, I would encourage you to not attempt to use synthetic hair. I personally have suffered a setback wearing my hair in a synthetic style, and go check that out so you can learn some things. However, if you want to really protect your hair with almost guaranteed no side effects or chance of, you know, damage or breakage and excessive shedding, anything like that, just protective style your hair with your own hair. If you want to use synthetic hair for whatever reason, if it's a preference of yours, or you're going on holidays, I know some people like myself, if I went on holiday, girl, I would love to use some kinky twists, okay? Because I wouldn't want to be dealing with my hair on holiday. So to my naturals like that, I will share a video on how to pretty much put your hair in synthetic hair or added hair effectively and look after it without incurring any setbacks, because I've experienced this myself. So check that video out. Heat. A lot of people have come out here and spoke about heat being damaging to their hair, drying to their hair, causing split ends. And when I say heat, I mean direct heat, as in blow drying, curling, you know, straightening and flat ironing. And then you have another group of people that say that heat has actually changed their natural hair for the better, and they feel that their hair is more manageable, or their hair is thriving better with heat. In my experience, heat has not been favorable to my hair, and I would encourage you to always use a heat protectant. If you're going to use heat, use it very sparingly. I wouldn't be using heat too often, because over time heat actually reduces the quality of your hair. Another thing that I found with heat use is that a lot of people that use heat seem to need to trim their hair a little bit more often. Okay, so these are things to consider if you want to use heat or not use heat. If you're not using heat, you can stretch your hair with, you know, bantu knots, braids, twists. There's so many other non-heat stretching methods. Okay, flexi rods, curl formers, etc. Those are things that you can use to actually stretch your hair without using heat. Now, speaking of trimming, I don't recommend you trim your hair on a routine unless you're someone that is likely to neglect your hair, or you haven't learned your hair that well to realize that it needs a trim. So what I'm saying is, I recommend for people to trim their hair when it needs a trim. So when do you need a trim? When the hair has got excessive amounts of single strand knots or excessive amounts of split ends. If your hair is a little bit finer at the ends, that's not really a reason for me to be trimming. And also, I don't encourage people to trim on a routine, because you might actually not need to be trimming your hair. So maybe get into the habit of actually listening to your hair, touching your hair, feeling your hair, and discovering when it actually needs a trim, and then trimming at that point. I say to people usually, try and keep your ends well enough so that they don't need a trim in the first place. Okay, so keeping the ends tucked in and not exposed. Don't keep your hair loose. This is if this is something that you want, or you're aiming for length, for example. However, if you don't mind having shorter hair and you're not trying to grow your hair, etc., you can trim your hair however often. I personally use the search and destroy method, which is actually looking for the damage and cutting it off. Some people just twist their hair up and cut the twists, the tip of the twists. Some people blow their hair out and then cut the tips. And then you have other people that attend a salon or go to a hairstylist and or hairdresser and get their hair trimmed there. So just find which method works for you and which one aligns better with your routine and your hair and its needs. Scalp care. Your scalp is crucial for healthy hair, for thriving hair, for your health, for you not to be having hair loss when you're older. So you have to look after your scalp. I've done a dedicated video talking about how I look after my hair in a whole month. Check that video out. However, in a nutshell, obviously keeping the scalp clean is number one. Keeping it hydrated, so when you add that spritz with water and glycerin, to your hair, add it to your scalp as well. There is different information about oils being put on the scalp and whether or not to put it on the scalp. If you wash your hair as regularly as once a week, you might not need to use anything on your scalp. However, if you're someone who doesn't wash your hair for a few weeks or even a month, then you might need to implement some things in your routine. For example, using essential oils on your scalp, or using a bold bristle brush to cleanse your scalp and distribute sebum from the scalp to the rest of the hair, okay? Because sebum in excessive amounts on the scalp can actually cause a problem. Another thing is when choosing oils to put on your scalp, just make sure the oils are non-comedogenic, so they're non-blocking. You don't want a blocked follicle or blocked scalp. It's gonna cause inflammation and just really low quality hair growing out of your hair. So check out the video that I did about comedogenic oils. So that's going to really be beneficial to you. Styling. I've spoken a little bit about this, but styling is something that is a little bit of a confusion in the community at the moment. A lot of people will come out here with all sorts of different styles every so often, and when you're a new natural, you might think that's the norm and that's what we do or what we're supposed to do. However, I always encourage people, find a style and stick with it, okay? If you want to wear your hair in braids, stick with that. If you want to wear your hair in twists, stick with that. If you want to wear your hair in wash and goes, stick with that. Doesn't mean you can't swap or change, but have a regular, common and usual or style that you wear the majority of the time. This way you don't incur a lot of breakage, because the styling or the amount of work that goes into prepping the hair for a style does actually impact the hair. If you look at other cultures, a lot of these people actually do not change their hair or their styles as often as Black people. So flat twists, cornrows, knotless braids, Senegalese twists, crochet, look, it can get really complicated and it's really not necessary unless you just want to do it for the fun of it. But if you want healthy hair and length retention, then finding your personal style and sticking with it is the key. I'll give you an example. I personally am a twisted natural. This means that I live and breathe predominantly in twists the majority of the times in the year. I like medium twists, mini twists to medium twists. I like them because of the way they look, and also it's easy for me to do that style. I mainly wear twists in summer. Sometimes I will wear the same twists with added hair, synthetic hair in summer as well. Come winter, I am going to be wearing crochet. So I wear crochet and allow the front part of my hair out a little bit, and that way I'm able to, rock some kind of loose hair and enjoy my hair that way. These are the only 3 things that I do. I mean, if my hair is having a really bad hair day, I'll wear wigs as well. However, when it comes to my personal style, I would say that I am a twisted natural. So you can try and figure out where you fit in and which style works for you and sort of stick with it, okay? This will be beneficial for you in so many ways. Your edges, your hairline is the most delicate part of your hair. The ends as well, really, but the brushing, the combing, the laying of the edges, dryness, these things can really see you have missing edges in a couple of months. So when you go natural, it's important to always keep your edges moisturized, always sleep in a satin scarf or have a satin or silk pillowcase. Don't have tight styles or try to force your edges into a style. Don't try to lay your edges too much, and I'm not saying don't use gels or things like that. You can use them, however it should just be for the neatness of the style, not necessarily to slick them in such a way that they actually look relaxed, if you know what I mean. So look after your edges. I've done separate videos going in details about edges, but in a nutshell, that's the care of edges. Products, this is a big one. A lot of people come out here reviewing products, myself included, and this can sometimes make our new naturals feel like, oh my gosh, I need to try this new product. Wrong. You don't need to try every single product that I come out with or that a natural hair YouTuber is talking about. Once you find your staple products, stick with them. How do you find your staple products? Read the ingredients, okay? The first 5 ingredients on the ingredient list pretty much tell you everything about that product. So if you want it to be hydrating, moisturizing, strengthening, it needs to have some of those ingredients in the top section of the ingredient list. So have glycerin, have aloe, those will be really hydrating to the hair. If you want a protein treatment, for example, a protein or hydrolyzed protein will be somewhere in the top 5 to 7 of the ingredient list. So this is how I would select my products. Also, look at product reviews and see how products work for different people. Try and listen to people that have got a similar texture and type as your hair, because then the review is more likely to be close to what your experience is going to be. A lot of people will say, you know, my hair is different, everyone's hair is different, including myself. However, there's certain things that shouldn't really vary. Like if the product is meant to work, it should really work on, you know, any hair, unless your hair is extremely damaged or has an extreme case of something happening. For example, if it's, you know, color treated, then the effect might be different. However, if it's just hair, natural hair that's being infused or treated with a certain product, the effect should really be similar. When it comes to products, I like to say keep it simple. Try not fall into the trap of having shelves and shelves of product. Shampoo, deep conditioner, leave-in conditioner, sealant. These are the main things you need. Of course, you can get into a styling product like a cream, or a gel, or a mousse, or a custard. However, it's not essential unless you want it to control frizz or just to help with the styling. Also, another thing is with the shampoos, for example, if you have hard water where you live, it might be beneficial to include a chelating shampoo every once in a while to help remove the hardness of the water. So you might add an extra shampoo, so that way you have 6 products, okay? However, you know, 4 or 5 products tops, that's all you need. Of course, a protein treatment is one that you might need as well. Sorry, I left that out. So, you know, 6 products that you might need. And once you find your products that work for you, stick with them. If it's not working for you and you want to try something else, try and finish the products that you have right now before you go ahead to purchase another one. I've learned this the hard way, where years and years will pass and I still can't get through my products. Some of them sent to me, some of them that I bought myself. Yeah, I've learned the lesson. I try not to purchase new products until the old ones have been used up or given away. Protecting your hair from the sun. This is something that's not spoken about a lot on the natural hair, on the YouTube platform here. However, for hair that is particularly high porosity, there is research here showing that when we go outside into the sun, our hair becomes even more high porosity. This can cause damage, dryness to the hair. So please wear a hat if you're going out in the sun. If you're going to the beach, get a hat. And another thing is to try a sunscreen. I use one from Sunbum, and I encourage you to try that one or see what else is out there on the market that suits your lifestyle as well. However, I think sunscreen, or at least a hat, or should I say at least a hat, is obviously better than the sunscreen. So if you've got a hat, just wear that. However, if you don't have one, or this is you're in a style that can't wear a hat, or you don't want to wear a hat, then sunscreen might be something to consider. Another thing to consider is a routine. So having a routine is really quite crucial to your natural hair journey. That means, how often do you wash? How often do you deep condition? How often do you moisturize? What's your scalp care? You know, when do you do it? How do you do it? With what products? Having that consistent routine is what's really gonna benefit you and give you results, whether it be moisture, thickness, length retention, you know, and that kind of thing. Just make sure that you stick to your routine. Once you decide, okay, I'm gonna wash my hair this often, I'm gonna need to moisturize this often, once you discover what your hair likes, this is my styling routine, this is what my scalp likes. Once you have a handle and an overview of what that routine looks like, stick with it. Changing styles, trying new things, getting onto trends, you know, trying all sorts of products, you know, that is gonna wreak havoc on your hair, and it's gonna keep you frustrated because you won't understand why you're not seeing your goals, whether it be moisture or length retention. I know this feels like a lot, but keep it simple. Enjoy the journey. See what works for you. Like I said, when you decide what kind of natural you are, it's easy to narrow down on, you know, which areas and what things work for you. Lastly, I just want to encourage you to accept your texture. Once you go natural and you discover what your hair is, it might be daunting. It might be, you know, a little bit of a shock. Oh my goodness, this is what my hair feels like. looks like, etc. But once you accept your texture, the journey and the care of your hair becomes much, much simpler. A lot of the things that damage our hair, a lot of the complications that we have in our routines actually come from us trying to get our hair to do things that it's not naturally meant to do. All right, so I hope this video was helpful. Do comment below if you're an OG natural, what other things you'd include in this video to help someone new or someone that is still trying to discover themselves when it comes to their routine. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.